This is Mitch, and welcome to the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I have Sam Kwak on the line, and he's going to be talking to us about rentals and how to automate. But before we get started, I want to pay homage to my sponsor, taxfreefuture.com. If you don't have a tax-deferred or tax-free environment in which to grow your finances or your retirement, then you have no idea the size of the tool you are missing in your tool belt. Please visit taxfreefuture.com. Watch the 37 little video vignettes. We won't only show you how you set up so you can be, in control of your own destination. We also show you how to do it because we got a bunch of investors that have taken little bitty amounts of money and made them into big amounts of money in short periods of time. And it's simple, but not obvious. And we'll show you how to do that. Taxfreefuture.com, because you will not believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. All right, got that commercial out of the way. Sam, how are you?
I am doing phenomenal.
Okay, so you're in the suburbs of Chicago.
That's
How's
right.
the weather?
We're getting there. We just had another polar vortex. So it's supposed to be 80, 75 degrees. We're like 60, which hey, I can't complain. It's still a t-shirt and shorts weather. So.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Shorts at 60.
Yeah, I know. It's
full park is over here at 60, man. We got full parking. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah.
What do you do there?
Yeah, so I'm in the rental business. So my brother and I got started in the real estate investing world back in 2014. Young college kids, all we wanted to do was just have fun and just coast through life. And then the only way to do that with having enough time to do fun and also make money was we thought, hey, we need to get into rental properties, right? At the time, we were, being young and dumb, that's all we wanted to do. But, we found different purpose in life now. But when we first got started, we didn't have money. We didn't have credit, right? We didn't have a dad who can lend us a small loan of $1 million, although we would wish that. But, we got started with no money, no credit. All we had was podcasts like this, listening to podcasts and reading as much books as possible and going through a YouTube channel. But we weren't really finding progress, or we weren't really creating results. We were more so known as, we felt more like a keyboard investor than a real estate investor, right? It was until we found, we joined the community, local community here, kind of like a RIA. And then we ran across like a guy like Mitch, and he was seasoned. He had plenty of experience, and then we had some experience in social media. This gentleman didn't. So what we did is we did a little bit of a skill swap. So we ended up working for this gentleman who had at the time 250 doors of rentals. We ended up working for this gentleman for free on top of what we were doing for college. And then he was teaching us and kind of. We were able to shadow him on what he was doing for his rental properties. And ultimately, one thing that we learned, so there are a lot of details in between, but one thing that really broke into, gave us this huge epiphany was the concept of owner financing. So we were on the other end, Mitch. You would sell properties on seller financing. We would buy them on seller financing. And then we would put a tenant in there, and then we would essentially do a little bit of a, like a little wedge, right? So we didn't have to use our own credit. And a lot of times, for that down payment of 10% or 5%, we would go and raise that money from a partner then to, fund our down payment. We would give that partner equity, and then we would acquire properties that way. So my part of the story comes in where my brother and I, in 2017, we acquired 77 rental units in 1 year. And that definitely put some stress on our management. Although one of our partner was a manager, we weren't very efficient and effective in eliminating human errors, collecting rent. So because I was running a marketing company at the time, and I was automating a lot of different things. So for example, when a customer of mine will land on a specific web page, we would have a back-end software that would trigger automatic emails and text messages to reach out and follow up. So I thought, well, why isn't there a system like this in property management where if a tenant does something or doesn't do something, there's an automated, there's a customizable automated process that myself as a landlord can go, automate. right? Send out emails, send out text messages to the tenant. And I scour through the different apps and software. Not going to name any of them, but none of these softwares had it. So that's my journey of, okay, I want to start helping other landlords automate this process. And I knew there was a market because one particular property management company paid me $5,000 to come and consult and automate their systems. So that's when I started embarking on this journey. Okay, how do I help automate people's business and make a streamlined system so that they can really achieve what they wanted to do, which was ultimately buy rental properties and live a free life. So that's the gist of how I arrived to where I am now with my business. Not just a rental property, but helping people automate their business. So my brother's on the acquisition side. He does all the investments and raising capital now. I do more so, okay, how do we automate all this stuff? How do we create an engine that supports the business?
What's your brother's name?
His name is Daniel. Yeah.
Daniel. So, I was good friends with, I say good friends. For a brief time, we had a pretty solid relationship before he passed away. His name was Ken D'Angelo. He was the founder of Homevestors. And he said to me one time something that I really took, I say take to heart. I didn't take it to heart as much as I realized it to be true. He said that an entrepreneur rarely ends up with the business that he starts, that he will always morph and adjust to the most amount of income with the least amount of resistance. And it's hardly ever the idea that they start out to create. Yeah. And I find that to be true. I'm in 8 businesses right now. And while the house flipping business is still the center of that hub, all these other businesses are offshoots of what was needed and what I couldn't find or no one could help me with. So I decided to do it myself. Or I had so many customers coming in asking for it that I decided to quit saying no. Or I had exhaust running out my tailpipe that was going to waste, that if I would just add a service or whatever, I could take what was the exhaust out of my business and use it as a customer. For example, if you're in a lumber business and you cut trees into logs, then you have a big pile of sawdust that you got to do something with at the end of the day on your plant. Yeah. So do you just throw it away, or do you start making something out of sawdust, Right. Yeah. So absolutely. So you decided you're going to help people automate their collection process. Is that right?
Yeah. So not only, rental collection, but what happens when tenants don't pay. Right. I mean, it's probably going to be, it's probably why, Mitch, you left the rental business and you decided you want to do the seller financing. But there's a lot of landlords that pull their hair out because they can't collect rent. Tenants won't leave. They've been 3-4 months delinquent, and obviously there has to be an eviction process for that, and landlords hate that. Repair maintenance, right? Another reason why a lot of people choose to go with the seller financing. The
real reason I left was the unpredictability of the income, because you were responsible for everything that broke from the back fence to the mailbox in the yard, So.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I partly help people automate is the maintenance process and procedures, because landlords don't want to get up at 2 a.m. in the morning to listen to tenants complain how, the water pressure on their toilet's low, right? It's something stupid like that. So that's pretty much the entire encompassing aspect of the property management. I try to help automate that, whether you're a landlord or a property manager.
Okay. So you've got a free book that you're giving away. It's Automate My Properties. It's an ebook called Automate My Properties. I want you guys to go to REInvestorSummit.com/Kwak, KWAK, and get back into the show notes of REInvestorSummit.com podcast. And there in that show notes, you're going to get at least this free ebook if you go over there. And anything else you want to put over there, Sam, you can put in there. If you have speaking dates, it's evergreen. We can change it anytime you want. If you have new things come up, or there's other things, or if there's courses or anything you offer, you can put them in there. So, but at least go there to get your ebook, quote, Automate Your Properties. And that's REInvestorSummit.com/Kwak. Kwak. All right. So how long did it take you to develop and get all the kinks out of this program?
So it didn't come easy. I'll tell you that. Because a lot of it was based on what the market demands. There's almost a different automation system for a C-class neighborhood and A-class neighborhood. Certain neighborhoods and certain markets demand certain level of attention. For example, some of your listeners may be aware, but there's a new solution, a new service that came out recently, about 3 years ago, of auto showings. And this is just a concept where landlords or property managers get a lockbox connected to the internet, and then tenants who want to see the vacant property, they can do it themselves. They just pay a dollar deposit on a credit card, and they get a one-day code to go inside and look at it. That will work very well. That part of the automation worked really well in B class or A class type of neighborhood, luxury markets, affluent areas. But I've seen very small success, if not any, with C class or lower type of neighborhood. Those type of neighborhood does require a little bit more of a hands-on approach when it comes to showings. But there's so many different aspects of automation that depends on the market, the management styles, different strengths and weaknesses. But I think I've been able to pinpoint what works for the general audience, what works for everybody. So it took me couple months to really get an idea, and I have that kind of brain. I think that's where my strength lies in, is how do we take a pile of mesh and turn it into something that looks like a actual process. It streamlines like a factory. So
yeah. So how long have you been in the rental business?
Not long compared to you, Mitch. Yeah. I've been doing it since 2017. So about 3 years. Okay,
so you run into, that's when you run into the problems, is in the early career. That's when you run into the problems, like right. Why is this happening? When you talk to people, are you talking to management companies, or are you just talking to individual landlords?
I talk to both. Yeah, although now I'm starting to single out my audience to specifically to the do-it-yourself landlords. Folks that just manage on their own. I feel like they're struggling a lot, especially now, right? I mean, look at last 2 months of the coronavirus pandemic. You saw a lot of landlords unable to collect rent and struggling with the communication end of talk to their tenants. So I used to deal with primarily property managers until I found there wasn't a whole lot of support for these smaller mom and pop landlords, right? These big property managers that have National Association for Realtors and Property Managers. They have they have a lot of advocate groups supporting them, but not a lot of the do-it-yourself landlord groups. So I'm here for the little guys, helping them scale and grow and automate their properties.
That's a smart move. There's an awful lot of them.
Yeah.
So again, go to reinvestorsummit.com/automate my properties. What's one of the biggest problems that your software solves?
Yeah, I try not to talk about, obviously I try not to pitch anything on podcasts, but I'll give you like a little 30-second kind of thing, because I do want to give listeners as much value as possible. The software essentially pretty much automates your workflow. And what I mean by workflow is for example, let's say your tenant is late, there's a series of steps and sequences that you do to obviously fix that problem, right? To send a text message or email, you call them, right? So what this software allows you to do is it automates all of that, sending out emails, text messages, and you can customize when to send it, what to send, how you send it. You can pretty much customize the timing of everything. In fact, for you, Mitch, or anyone listening to this that does seller finance notes, you can also use it for servicing aspect of it. So if you want to service your debt, you can collect rent, and if they don't pay, if they're delinquent, you can send out a text message, email, letting them know, hey, you're late. So that's one use case for this software to automate the workflow of landlord, and it also does other things like collecting rent, accounting, repair, maintenance, ticket item, tracking. So it does everything that you'll typically see on a software, but obviously the workflow automation is what's key to automating the landlording.
So one of the big problems in the rental business is your downtime. So how do you streamline, the time between a move out and a move in?
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a big thing with amateur landlords that I see when it comes to automating. So a lot of times the amateurs, new landlords, they would almost kind of sit around and wait. They're like, oh, someday I'll turn around the unit, or someday I'll call the contractor, or someday I'll get the carpet guy over there and replace the carpet. I tell my audience, listen, you got to get it turned around. All repairs and if it's not major, all repairs need to be done within 14 days. And then within 14 days, you should have it listed on the market or wherever you want to list it, Zillow or apartments.com, rent.com, wherever you want to list it. And then once you're done listing it in 14 days, you should have a security deposit or move-in fee and a lease signed. So you have 28 to 30 days where you're really turning everything around. So yeah, I feel like a lot of small time landlords, it takes them way longer because they just don't have a streamlined system. They don't have a process. They don't have a policy for, okay, what happens when someone moves out? What happens when a property becomes vacant? It almost has to be an instant thing. And that's fortunately something that again, with our software Flowmatiks, that's what we try to do. But even without a software, you should still be able to have that kind of system engraved in your head.
So I just interviewed the president of the Texas Apartment Association yesterday, and one of the keys, and he has he's second generation, but he came from a very exceptional entrepreneur who migrated here from Europe, and they have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of doors. He said,
not Trump, is it?
No. But one of the things that he said they focused on and that they are constantly trying to improve on is the time between the move out and the move in is critical. They have of course they're a big company. They have some resources and stuff, but they have it down to, they want it 7 days. 7 days, it's got to be up, ready to go, being showed, So incredibly fast, responsive, but, they have people. So how do you, is it possible to streamline an eviction process?
Good question, because a lot of that hinges on how fast the court system is, right? If you're talking about here in Chicago, Cook County, I don't want to say anything bad because I feel like all these things kind of circle around. But
I'll say it for you: government bureaucracy sucks. I don't care what state or city you're in. It sucks because it's not their money and they don't care, and they just gonna let everyone live in your house for free because guess what? It doesn't affect them.
No, I got to tell you, and I'll say this, Mitch. I'll say this, Mitch. I had a tenant, and I'll say a tenant because I consider this person a tenant. She hasn't paid since last year, right? And then the court date kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed, and I'm like, my goodness, and with this coronavirus happening too, all the court systems shut down unless it's emergency. So, I put another two. I was supposed to have a summons last week, and I was supposed to show, and that was supposed to be it, right? Hey, judge grants me possession, I'm in. Didn't happen. Now it's postponed to July. So, but in a perfect world, there are states like Indiana, my next door neighborhood, Indiana, Wisconsin, where they can get their eviction done in 2 weeks. The court's open, boom, a judge says, all right, I see all the good paperwork, possession, and then you got the sheriff out there in a matter of a few days, and that's it. But here in different states like Illinois, New York, California, you would wish that that's the case. But the fastest I've seen with when it comes to going to the regular thing, 2 to 3 weeks. Now, I think I know what you're alluding to is, instead of paying an attorney for eviction fee or legal fee, there are ways to obviously do cash for keys, right? That's a classic term that a lot of flippers use to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Tenant, I'll give you $1,000 if you move out in next 30 days, or in Chicago, especially if it takes.
I'll give you $1,000 if you move out by the weekend.
Well, I'm talking about Chicago, Mitch. When it takes 2 to 3 months to evict anybody here, 30 days you're pretty content. But hey, you can get them out by the weekend, perfect. But that's how I would do it if as an alternative to the legal process. Hey, I would have them sign off on a possession letter or an agreement that turns over the possession, and then hey, 2 weeks, or in case in Chicago, a month, if you leave, here's $1,000, or I'll give you $500 now and give faith, and $500 when you move out, that kind of thing, because you never want to give the money away and then not moving out. So
you just blown my whole myth about Chicago. I thought in Chicago you just hired Guido and you sent him over there.
Oh no, man. Those days are long gone. I know people used to talk about they shut off water because a lot of the water shut off valves are in the streets. So they would shut the water off, or they would take the doors off the hinges and walk away. Those were the days of long,
That doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, some of the seasoned landlords talk about that, but you can't do that anymore.
I'll tell you one trick that I always do, especially in my lower income class C, is always have a friend at the police department and see if they have any warrants, because if they have any warrants, they're going to be at my house in like 24 hours. And I'm not going to call.
Possibility.
I'm not going to call the police on them, but I'm going to tell them, I understand you have warrants. I have friends at the police department, and they've let me know you have warrants. I'm fixing to let them know that you're here if you're here much longer. And then I look at my home. So
interesting.
A lot of my Class C people used to work on 30% of them, there was 30% of them, they had warrants for a driving ticket or whatever, they didn't pay. And it was pretty effective. So
interesting.
So again, go to reinvestorsummit.com/automate my properties and get your free ebook and see what else Sam and Daniel have going on over there. Man, anything we need to cover before maybe we wrap it up here? What would you say to the new guys?
Yeah, treat your rental like a business. I see so many landlords treat this like a after school activity, just a hobby. Not only does that hurt your business or your profitability, but it also hurts the overall tenant perception of the landlords, right? Because if you treat this like a hobby, and let's say the tenant wants something fixed, and it takes you 5 months to fix something like a dishwasher leak or whatever, honestly, that puts a bad perception and rep on everybody, on all the landlords. So treat your business like a business. Put a system and process in place. You'll thank yourself for it, because not only it saves you money and time, but you're going to have less stress and less emotional quirks about it. So that's my little last, suggestion and advice for everybody listening who are new.
Man, Sam, I really appreciate you being on today. I wish you the most luck, and we'll be talking in the future, I'm sure. But go to reinvestorsummit.com/Kwak, KWAK, and get your free ebook, Automate My Properties. And I'd like to thank everybody out there for stopping by to get you some Sam Kwak today and learn a little bit about how to automate and the importance of automation and time. And I'd also like to thank my sponsor, taxfreefuture.com. Please go watch the 37 little vignettes on not only how to set up a self-directed IRA with minimal annual fees, but also how to grow that money, grow a little bit of money into a lot of money. You have no idea what your financial advisors are not telling you. All right, this is Mitch Stephen with the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. We're out of here.